Go, go, girl, go!
I'm going, I'm going. I got the metal to the pedal and the thing to the floor.
You punks look tuckered out, too.
If you're a real Smokey and the Bandit fan, you've definitely seen this scene more than once. But today is your true test, because hidden in plain sight is something most viewers completely miss. The moment plays so smoothly that even lifelong fans overlook it. Yet once you catch it, you'll never unsee it again. Take a closer look at this unedited scene and see if you're sharp enough to spot what others didn't. How a simple comedy became a cultural earthquake. Smokey and the Bandit did not begin as a huge Hollywood event. It began as a fun idea about fast driving, funny moments, and a wild chase across the American South. But when the film finally reached theaters in 1977, it became a cultural storm that moved across the country almost overnight. People did not just watch it. They felt it. They repeated its lines. They dreamed about driving like the Bandit. They listened to the soundtrack. They turned the movie into a part of their own lives. At the heart of the story is the Bandit, played by Burt Reynolds. He was one of the most popular stars of the entire decade. He brought a relaxed charm, a bright smile, and a playful attitude that immediately won over the audience. Beside him was Jerry Reed as Cletus Snowman Snow. Snowman is a friendly truck driver who has a loyal heart and a brave spirit. Together, they form the perfect team for a mission that sounds simple at first but becomes dangerous and hilarious from the very beginning. Their job is to pick up 400 cases of Coors beer from Texarkana and bring them all the way to Atlanta within 28 hours. Today, that does not sound exciting, but in the 1970s, Coors was not sold east of Texas because it was not pasteurized and had to stay cold. Transporting it across state lines was not allowed. That is what made the challenge thrilling. It felt like a harmless crime, but it still created the perfect excuse for a high-speed chase. While Snowman drives the big truck filled with beer, the Bandit drives a shiny black Pontiac Trans Am. His job is to distract every officer on the road so the truck can move safely. The Trans Am became a movie star on its own. It represented freedom, confidence, and rebellion. The image of the car speeding past police vehicles became one of the most iconic symbols in American cinema. The story takes a sharp turn when Bandit picks up Carrie, who is escaping from her own wedding. Carrie is played by Sally Field. She brings humor, warmth, and a strong personality to the film. Her presence is what sets off the main conflict. Sheriff Buford T. Justice, played by Jackie Gleason, begins chasing the Bandit because Carrie was supposed to marry his son. Gleason delivers one of the funniest and loudest sheriff characters ever seen. His attitude, expressions, and angry energy added a huge amount of comedy to the movie. Nobody expected the movie to be a hit. It had a small budget and was almost ignored by critics, yet audiences fell in love with it instantly. Smokey and the Bandit earned $127 million in the United States. For comparison, the movie only cost about $4 million to make. It became the second highest-earning movie of the year. Only Star Wars earned more. The success shocked Hollywood and changed the lives of everyone involved. The film also influenced American culture. CB radio, which was mostly a trucker tool, became popular with regular people because of the movie. The Trans Am became one of the most desired cars in the country. People repeated lines from the film in daily conversations. Even years later, fans still look back at Smokey and the Bandit as a film that made them smile and feel alive. But behind this bright and energetic story is a far more surprising truth. The road to creating this movie was filled with fear, doubts, last-minute changes, and financial pressure. Nothing about the production went smoothly. What seems effortless on screen was actually the result of struggle, risk, and bold choices. And that is where the real story begins. The stuntman's impossible dream. Hal Needham was not a director at the time. He was known as the greatest stuntman in Hollywood. He had crashed cars, fallen off horses, jumped from tall buildings, and performed dangerous scenes for many major stars. The idea for the movie came from something small and almost silly. Hal was staying in a hotel while working as a stunt double for Burt Reynolds in a different film. Someone had brought him a few cases of Coors beer from the western states. He put them in his fridge and later noticed something strange. The maid kept stealing his beer. Hal wondered why anyone would risk their job just for a drink. Then he remembered reading an article that explained how Coors was not sold east of the Mississippi River because it was not pasteurized and had to stay cold. That meant people in the eastern states could not easily get it. Suddenly, a fun idea came to him. Hal wrote the first version of the story on yellow paper pads. It was simple. It was rough. It did not look like something Hollywood would take seriously. In fact, Hal himself expected it to be a small project. He imagined a cheap film with a tiny budget. He even planned to give the main role to his friend Jerry Reed. But Hal still believed the story had heart and energy, so he carried the script around and showed it to anyone willing to read it. At that time, Hal was staying in Burt Reynolds' home. He was renting Burt's pool house and had lived there for many years. The two men were close friends but rarely saw each other because both had busy schedules. One day, Hal handed Burt the handwritten script and asked him to take a look. Burt read it and said something that changed everything. He told Hal that the script was the worst thing he had ever read. But then he said he would star in the movie if Hal found the money to make it. Burt Reynolds was the biggest movie star in the world at that moment. His involvement instantly turned the small idea into something important. When the studios learned that Burt Reynolds wanted to be part of the project, they finally agreed to support it. But the support was far from perfect. Universal Pictures approved the film, but only gave it a small budget. Things became even worse when just 2 days before production began, the studio cut $1 million from the already limited budget. This decision shook Hal to his core. The movie was supposed to cost $5 million. Now it had to be made for $4 million. After paying Burt Reynolds $1 million for his salary, only about $3 million were left to complete the entire movie. Most new directors would panic. Most would give up. But Hal Needham refused to quit. He and his assistant director worked for 30 hours without rest to rewrite the entire shooting plan. They cut scenes. They changed locations. They simplified stunts. They removed anything that cost extra money. They created a new plan that could fit within their tiny budget. Hal was used to solving problems quickly because his whole career as a stuntman depended on thinking fast. It was this mindset that kept the film alive during those terrifying early days. Hal was taking the biggest risk of his life. If the movie failed, he would never direct again. If the stunts went wrong, the film would fall apart. If the actors lost confidence, everything would collapse. But Hal kept moving forward with courage, stubbornness, and a wild dream that refused to die. What he did not know yet was that the greatest surprises were still waiting ahead. The cast was about to take the film into new territory, unlocking humor and magic that no script could predict. The cast who rewrote the movie. The magic of Smokey and the Bandit did not come only from fast cars and wild chases. It came from the people who brought the characters to life. Let us begin with Jackie Gleason, who played Sheriff Buford T. Justice. Many people remember him as the loud and angry lawman who chased the bandit across several states. His performance is unforgettable. But what most people do not know is that Jackie Gleason almost never used the script. He made up his lines on the spot. He followed his instincts. He spoke the way he felt the character would speak in that moment. His natural humor and fast thinking created some of the most famous lines in the entire film. For example, the scene in the roadside diner where the sheriff sits across from the bandit without knowing who he is was not written in the original script. Gleason created the idea himself. He also shaped the sheriff into a man who mixes comedy with frustration. His voice, his expressions, and his way of muttering insults became the heart of the film's humor. The famous word that the sheriff repeats many times came from Burt Reynolds' father, who used the expression in real life. Gleason heard the story and decided to use it. Sally Field, who played Carrie, almost did not get the role. The studio wanted someone else because they did not believe she was glamorous enough. But Burt Reynolds insisted that she join the movie. He admired her acting and believed she would bring true warmth and charm to the story. Sally later said that she took the role partly because people kept calling her unattractive after she played serious characters on television. She hoped that playing a love interest in a fun comedy would help the public see her differently. Once she arrived on set, she immediately connected with Reynolds. Their chemistry was natural and sweet. They laughed together. They teased one another. They created small moments of affection that felt real. Their relationship became one of the strongest reasons the audience fell in love with the movie. Sally said that many of her scenes were improvised. She would speak freely and react in the moment, rather than follow every line from the script. This gave her character a spontaneous and lively personality. Jerry Reed, who played Snowman, joined the project in an equally surprising way. He originally expected to play the Bandit because that was the plan when the film was still small. But when Burt Reynolds took the lead role, Jerry happily accepted the part of Snowman. He did not demand changes or complain. He simply stepped into the character with his guitar and easygoing charm. He also wrote the song that became the film's anthem. He created it overnight because the production needed music urgently. His calm spirit and good humor kept the set light even during stressful moments. Even the characters' names and roles were different in the beginning. In the first version of the script, Carrie was named Kate. Big Enos and Little Enos had different names. The prize for completing the beer run was supposed to be a brand new truck instead of money. Even the Bandit did not have the name we know today. All of these things shifted over time as the cast and crew allowed the story to change and grow naturally. But while the actors transformed the story through improvisation, the real storms were forming in another part of the production. The cars, the music, and the stunts were about to push the entire crew to their limits. Cars, chaos, and music written overnight. The cars in Smokey and the Bandit were not just props. They were living characters. They were symbols of freedom, rebellion, and speed. The black Pontiac Trans Am became the heart of the film. Hal Needham first chose the Trans Am after seeing a picture of it in a car magazine. He believed the Bandit should drive something bold and unforgettable. He contacted Pontiac and asked for 6 cars for production. Pontiac could only spare 4. Even those 4 were not the exact models seen in the film's release year. They were mostly older models adjusted to look newer. Pontiac changed the front end, the headlights, and other small features to match the upcoming model. As filming began, the cars faced extreme pressure. They performed jumps, sharp turns, dirt road chases, and long, fast drives. The Trans Am suffered real damage again and again. By the time the movie reached its final days of shooting, 3 cars were wrecked beyond repair. Only 1 remained, and even that one barely functioned. The crew had to push it into the final scene because the engine no longer worked. The police cars used in the movie did not fare any better. Sheriff Buford T. Justice and other officers drove heavy vehicles that took rough hits during the chase scenes. One of the most memorable crashes happens when Sheriff Justice loses a door from his car. In another moment, a police car rolls down an embankment and lands upside down. These scenes were real. Stunt drivers risked their safety to create them. Most of the budget went into fixing cars or replacing them with the few backups the studio could find. Just like the cars, the music in the film also had an unusual journey. The movie's main theme song, Eastbound and Down, became a classic. It plays during the chase scenes and adds an energetic rhythm to the film. But few people know how quickly that song was written. Jerry Reed, who played Snowman, promised Hal Needham that he would write a song for the film. But the days passed, and he had not written anything yet. Finally, the night before the crew needed the music, Jerry stayed up and wrote the entire song in one session. The next morning, he played it for Hal. Hal listened quietly. Jerry became nervous and said he could change the song if Hal did not like it. Hal replied in a serious voice that Jerry should not change a single word or note. He loved it exactly as it was. That moment shows how much of the film depended on instincts and last-minute decisions. What might have been a simple country tune became the heart of the movie's identity. The stunts also reveal the courage and creativity of the crew. Everything was done practically. No computer program existed to help with the dangerous scenes. When the Trans Am flew over the broken Mulberry Bridge, it was a real jump. The car was fitted with a stronger engine, but the stunt itself was performed by a real person, risking real injuries. The landing was rough and destroyed the car, but the moment captured on film became iconic. The entire production moved fast, but the budget moved even faster. Money disappeared with every damaged car and every complicated stunt. Hal Needham used every trick he knew as a stuntman to finish the film on schedule. There were no glamorous sets, no expensive effects, and no fancy equipment. The movie survived because of creative thinking, teamwork, and bravery. To the audience, the film looked smooth and exciting. But behind the scenes, it was a constant battle to keep the cars running, the music ready, and the stunts safe. Everyone was holding their breath, hoping nothing else would go wrong. What no one expected was that the biggest surprises were still hidden within the finished film. The editors were about to discover mistakes and strange accidents that slipped into the final version without anyone noticing. The bloopers that somehow survived the final cut. When fans watch Smokey and the Bandit today, they often notice little mistakes that slip through the scenes like tiny secrets. Some of these errors are easy to spot, others hide in the background. All of them remind us that this film was created with speed, pressure, and a very small budget. One of the most famous examples happens during a roadblock scene. Sheriff Justice steps out of his patrol car, and suddenly a large truck drives by and tears the car door right off the vehicle. It should be a major problem for the sheriff, but when the camera cuts to a wide shot a moment later, the door is back in place, as if nothing ever happened. The crew filmed the close shot and the wide shot on different days. They forgot to keep the damage consistent because the team was rushing to meet deadlines. The error stayed in the movie, and fans still smile when they notice it. Another amusing moment happens when a police car tumbles off an embankment and rolls into a river. When the car begins its fall, it is a late 1960s Ford. When it hits the bottom and rests in the water, it magically becomes a Plymouth. This switch was not planned. The production had limited cars available, and stunt vehicles were often replaced with whatever the crew could find quickly. The car change is obvious, yet the action moves so fast that most people never notice it during their first watch. There is also a scene with the Bandit driving in the rain before he picks up Carrie. The scene is supposed to show him alone, but if you look closely through the wet windshield, you can see two people sitting in the car. These figures were most likely crew members sitting in the passenger seat so they could help with the driving or equipment during filming. The rain and quick movement make it hard to catch this error unless the viewer is paying very close attention. The Bandit's Trans Am also has a magical quality in the movie. It races across muddy back roads and dusty highways, yet it always appears shiny and clean a few moments later. In reality, it is impossible for a car to remain spotless during such intense chases. But the production team had no time to dirty the cars for every scene. They sometimes filmed clean shots right after messy ones. The result is a spotless car that looks ready for a showroom even after crashing through bushes or sliding across gravel. Let's now reveal how some of the so-called mistakes were actually clever choices or misunderstood details that fans often get wrong. Mistakes that weren't mistakes and the details fans missed. Not every mistake in Smokey and the Bandit is truly a mistake. Many details that look wrong at first glance actually make sense when you understand how the film was made. The movie was created with a small budget, real stunts, and intense time pressure. The cast and crew had to work quickly, make decisions on the spot, and sometimes use whatever resources were available. Because of this, some choices that appear strange today were simply practical solutions during filming. Once you look at these moments closely, you can see how they fit naturally into the story. One of the most common complaints from fans is about the Bandit buying a car, installing a CB radio, and getting custom license plates within a short period of time. People say it seems impossible, but the movie never shows everything that happens between scenes. We see only the important moments. The story is built to move fast and focus on the adventure. Not every small detail. It is very possible that the Bandit had more time than the audience thinks. He may have made quick arrangements off-screen. In storytelling, not every action needs to be shown for it to make sense. Another detail that people question is the way the CB radios work. Bandit and Snowman agree to use odd-numbered channels and switch them often. Some viewers wonder how the characters find each other so easily. They think it is unrealistic for anyone to keep up with these changes without constant searching. But the film shows a world where truckers, law officers, and road travelers are experienced with CB radios. It is not surprising that they could track each other quickly. They were familiar with the sounds, patterns, and habits of regular users. The movie simply does not zoom in on every dial movement or frequency change. There is a moment in the film where a police chief tells another officer that a nearby bridge has been out of service for 6 months. Some fans argue that any officer should already know about such an important detail. But the movie makes it clear that this particular officer is not very sharp. Several scenes show him confused or unaware of things he should know. His lack of knowledge becomes a part of the humor rather than a mistake in the story. One scene that often puzzles viewers is when the bandit drops Carrie off at a diner and then finds her later driving his Trans Am. Many people wonder how she got the keys. The answer is simple. Carrie is shown as intelligent and rebellious. She clearly knows how to take action when needed. She may have taken the keys earlier, or she may have hot-wired the car. The movie hints that Carrie is not afraid of trouble and is capable of surprising decisions. Her actions fit her personality very well. Another detail that is often misunderstood is the suggestion that Bandit could have legally transported the Coors beer if he had only gotten the right permit. While this might be true in real life, it would completely destroy the purpose of the movie. The excitement of the story comes from the fact that the mission is illegal. If the beer could be moved legally, there would be no chase, no danger, and no story. The characters choose risk because that is what gives the adventure its thrill. Some visual details also confuse fans. For example, the Trans Am appears with different wheels in different scenes. Sometimes it has honeycomb wheels, and at other times it has snowflake wheels. This was not a mistake. The crew had only a few functioning cars and often switched parts between them. They used whatever wheels were available at the moment. When filming fast-paced action scenes, the focus was on getting the stunt right, not on matching every detail perfectly. There is also a shot of a hand adjusting the CB channels that clearly does not belong to Burt Reynolds. The hand looks smoother and hairless, while Reynolds had hairy arms. This was simply a stand-in used for close-up shots. Burt Reynolds did not need to sit in the car just to film a hand movement. The crew used whoever was available to save time. But even deeper surprises wait in the final chapter, because the biggest mistakes in the film have nothing to do with cars or characters. They appear in the very roads the characters travel. The geography of the movie hides some of the most unexpected secrets of all. Geography mistakes and final secrets. Smokey and the Bandit is a movie filled with speed, music, and excitement. The chase stretches across states, towns, highways, and long open roads. The story takes the audience from Texarkana to Atlanta. It feels like a long and dangerous journey across the American South. But underneath the smooth road adventure is a surprising truth. The geography shown in the movie is often completely wrong. Towns appear in the wrong places. Highways run in directions they never run in real life. Signs do not match the states the characters are supposed to be in. The film creates a playful world where the roads are shaped by fun and storytelling rather than actual maps. One of the most obvious mistakes happens when the silver-tongued driver asks Bandit if he is on Interstate 82 heading toward Fayetteville. That would be impossible in real life. Interstate 82 does not go to Fayetteville at all. It is located in a completely different region. The correct road would have been a local route, not an interstate. The movie uses the wrong number, but it does not really matter. The story moves so fast that the audience simply accepts the conversation. Another example appears when a helicopter pilot reports that he has spotted the Bandit going east on Interstate 95. This also makes no sense because Interstate 95 does not run east and west. It runs north and south along the East Coast. It would be nearly 250 miles away from where the characters were supposed to be. Yet in the film, the line is spoken with confidence, as if it were completely normal. The audience is too caught up in the excitement to question it. The filmmakers created most of the story's action in Georgia. They filmed scenes in small towns, quiet roads, old bridges, and open fields. But the story claims that many of these scenes happen in Arkansas or along the route to Texas. Because of this choice, the background often reveals clues about the real location. In one scene, a roadblock that is supposed to be in Arkansas clearly shows a Georgia state route sign. The shape and color of the sign give it away. Only someone familiar with the region would notice it, but once you see it, you cannot miss it again. There is another example where Sheriff Justice is said to be waiting near the Mississippi border. The scene shows him standing in front of a school building. The sign on the school reads, Redden Elementary. This school is located in DeKalb County in Georgia. It is nowhere near Mississippi. The scene was filmed only a short drive from the main production area. The script placed the characters far away, but the film never leaves Georgia for those sequences. A real estate sign also appears in a scene that is supposed to be in Deason County, Arkansas. The sign reads, Clayton County. Anyone familiar with Atlanta knows that Clayton County is a real place near the city. It is not in Arkansas at all. These little clues are like breadcrumbs pointing back to the film's true shooting locations. The geography in the movie is playful and loose. It bends reality to keep the story fun and simple. The roads behave more like a theme park ride than a real map. Everything is designed to push the story forward. A wrong highway number here, a misplaced building there, a patch of Georgia pretending to be Arkansas. Each moment serves the story rather than accuracy. And in the end, that is what makes Smokey and the Bandit unforgettable. It is not a perfect movie. It is a living one. A fast and fearless journey powered by imagination, teamwork, and pure cinematic spirit. Share your thoughts in the comments and tell us which part surprised you the most. Join the conversation and let us know what you think about the wild world behind Smokey and the Bandit.